How's it going, everybody? Luker back again, long time no see. Today we're going to be taking a look at the 5 best decks that you could play, I guess for May, but also before the mini set. For those of you who don't know, we'll be getting a mini set soon. There's no official release date yet. I've heard whispers that it's June 3rd. Don't tell anyone that I told you. If you do, just don't snitch. It's not my fault. But I've heard whispers they'll be getting the mini set on June 3rd. And, well, that leaves about a week and a half. About a week and a half until new cards. So the meta will remain the same, and these will be the 5 best decks for you to take the ladder to climb. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to upvote it and to subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be uploading more content. I'm working on learning how to edit, so your support really does mean a lot to me. I'm also working on a second channel that's going to be entirely unrelated to Hearthstone, but we'll talk about that later. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed the content, upvote it, or thumbs up it, and subscribe to the channel. And now let's take a look at the 5th best deck to climb to Legend with in this meta. So if you guys have kept up with the Hearthstone meta recently, you'll know that there was a balance patch, and a lot of decks were nerfed, or cards, I guess. The big ones were Crab Rider, stuff like that, and, well, Rush Warrior was nerfed. But even though it lost Crab Rider, the deck is still pretty good. Rush Warrior is a pretty standard deck and comes in at the 5th spot on our fucking tier list here. The list looks pretty normal as what you've seen before. It runs the Rush package, it has the mid-game threats with different Rush minions, Run Thack to make your cheaper minions more valuable, you have Watley to cycle through the deck, then you close out the game using a combination of Troublemakers and Dragon Queen Alexstrasza. Not Dragon Queen Alexstrasza. Alexstrasza Lifebender, the one that does 8 or heals 8. You got some big threats, you have mid-game cards that let you push damage, and you have your cheap minions to just amass a board to punch your opponent in the face, just like Machine Gun Kelly told us to do. If you enjoy board-based decks that are pretty linear in terms of curve, and you just kind of play your best card each turn, clear your opponent's board, and do the most powerful thing every turn, then Rush Warrior is probably the best deck for you. That's why it is coming in at number 5 on this list. The 4th best deck on this list was also nerfed with no minion Mage. In the last balance patch, Blizzard nerfed Encounter... No, not Encounter's Flow. They should have nerfed Encounter's Flow. They nerfed Pot of Greed, or Refreshing Springwater, to 5 mana. They probably should have nerfed Encounter's Flow. That card's still kind of stupid. Springwater being nerfed has slowed down the card's cycle engine. You don't really keep it in the mulligan anymore. But it's still a good card. Now it corrupts the secret card, and the deck is still very powerful. Lists haven't changed. The nerf didn't really do anything. You're still running the standard set of cards. You play Encounter's Flow on 2. Turn 3, you can be spicy. You can play some minions from Font of Power. You can play a secret. You can coin deck a Lunacy if you're feeling really frisky. Turn 5, you play Pot of Greed, draw some cards. You might even Apexis Blast them on turn 5 instead. And then you close out the game with Massive Cthulhu, Fireballs, and other burn. Usually you want to spend the early turns just playing many spells, developing minions that didn't start in your deck, just hitting your opponent with burn. Generally, your game plan is to kill him. Sometimes you'll leave Lunacy up, or you'll use Lunacy rather to do some stupid shit. If you play Lunacy before encounters, you can Grand Slam them. You play it after 1 encounters, you Libram of Hope them. Play it after 2 encounters, I don't really know, never drawn 2 encounters. But this deck is crazy. If you like random shit and just like a very inconsistent game plan. Like a consistent, inconsistent game plan. With Lunacy, you don't really know what the fuck's gonna happen ever, but it consistently wins you games because the deck's just good. And that's the reason it comes in at number 4 on this list. No Minion Mage is powerful. Blizzard tried to nerf it, they didn't nerf it well. Maybe this is what they wanted, but it's still a really powerful deck, and if you want to play Chain, I definitely recommend trying it out. Number 3 on this list was also nerfed, but is still good. Technically, it wasn't really nerfed, but the class was nerfed, and one of the cards that it runs was hit in the balance patch, being First Day of School. And yes, we're talking about Paladin. In more specific terms, I'm talking about Libram Paladin. This is Baby Bear's list that she used to pilot to, I think, rank 2 Legend. Very good deck, very good player. If I remember, I'll have a link to her Twitter in the description, so go ahead and check her out. But seriously, great player and great deck. After they nerfed Secret Paladin by nerfing Crab Rider and First Day of School, well, the Secret Shell is still good, and First Day of School is still good, and other decks got worse, so now Librams are good again. I'll be honest, not a big fan of Librams. I think it's kind of boring. It's a very linear playstyle. Same thing happens every game. They just curve out and play the same spells and make big threats, and you can never run them out of value unless you randomly generate stuff, and oh my Yogg isn't fun. I love this deck. But yeah, Libram Paladin, it's pretty good. It's a very consistent archetype. It is all over the ladder right now after Baby Bear did very well. Many players were playing it. Your general game plan is to just play early game minions and then Hand of Vidal on 2 if you can. If you don't have any early game curves, pretty much Aldora's Attendant, you'll get them from First Day of School. The 1-drop pool is good. First Day of School nerf really... In a way, it was like a rework because you get 3 minions now, but the 1-drop pool is so good that it's not that noticeable. You play a bunch of 1s, they're all good statted now. You can Libram, you can Hand of Vidal, and then in the later games, you'll try to move into Leandrin to generate more value and to kill them. If you're playing against an aggro deck, the healing from Libram of Hope usually does it in. Something was in my eye, sorry. If you're playing against an aggressive deck, well, you're just going to trade it off. Paladin's good. Paladin is a great deck. It's very consistent. If you were a fan of Librams, like old Libram Paladin, then this deck is also good. If you don't like Librams like me, well, you can try to beat it with like Secret Rogue or something. But it's a pretty consistent deck, and it's going to get you results on ladder if you jam a bunch of games with it, so I definitely recommend checking it out.
Number 2. Miracle Rogue.
I took in my list, so I didn't mess up the order. Miracle Rogue is a very consistent deck. It's been around since the first day of the expansion and rotation. Field Contact lets you cycle your whole deck, and Octobot lets you make all your cards you're using to cycle 0 fucking mana, so everything's very cheap. Miracle Rogue is just an extremely powerful deck, and it's played more at High Legend than anywhere else. It's kind of like the number 1 deck on our tier list, which I'm not going to spoil, so wait until we get there. But they're decks that reward consistent and skillful play. You can still play them if you're like newer to the deck, and obviously you'll have to play the deck as a noob to learn how to play, but it definitely rewards like a well thought out game plan and a good player. And the best of players will roll good minions on Jandis, so if you're a good player, it'll show. Miracle Rogue is just a very powerful and consistent deck. I feel like Miracle Rogue has been at the top of like tier lists for like 4 fucking years now, whether it's with Auctioneer or Field Contact, or it doesn't have any of them. Miracle Rogue is just always a good deck. The ability to cycle through your deck for so cheap and close out the game using things like Jandis, Alexstrasza, and Tenwu, or even just like cheap minions in Kazakus to buff your board, it's crazy. It's really powerful and it's extremely consistent. It really shouldn't be, but when Rogue has cycle cards like Field Contact, Swindle, Secret Passage, it draws its whole deck every game. It's in fatigue every game. It's absolutely crazy. The only deck that draws faster than it right now is probably Weapon Rogue. I think Weapon Rogue draws a bit faster. An insanely good like GA Druid hand might draw faster if you keep Twilight Runner alive, but it's really only Weapon Rogue. Fucking Rogue, man. But Miracle Rogue is not as sinful as Weapon Rogue, so if you enjoy this type of archetype, I recommend checking out. It's a lot of fun. It's definitely more fun than the next deck on the list. What is it? We'll find out in a second. Now the next deck on the list, you probably figured it out from my insinuation, is Priest. I'm so sorry. Control Priest is a very powerful archetype. It's very consistent. It's very strong. It slaps your opponent in the mouth, and then it takes their cards with Elutia, and it runs away, sells them for $4,000. Oh wait, no, that was a Yu-Gi-Oh player that did that. My bad. But seriously, Priest is just so annoying. I don't know. Everything they do is annoying. They heal more than they should. They randomly generate more healing. They have stupid minions. They have Mind Render or Elutia. They randomly generate everything. I'm going to stop this from turning into a Priest rant because you hear enough about that on Zeddy's YouTube channel, or pretty much everyone's YouTube channel at this point. But Control Priest is just a good deck. You can't deny it. It, kind of like Miracle Rogue, is an archetype that suffers a bit more at lower ranks because, for a couple reasons. One being it's hard to play, but another being that the list changes pretty drastically based on your pocket meta. If you're facing off against aggro, cards like Light Shower Elemental are much better. But if you're facing off against other priests, these cards can be a bit worse, and you might want things like Cthulhu. Some people don't like Cthulhu, but anyway, the point stands. You want more threats. You know, want Ysera. Ysera is huge in the mirror. And when you're playing against aggro decks, you want more removal and things to stave off the pressure. And newer players struggle to recognize this sometimes, and it can be hard to know when to switch your deck. Sometimes they might feel like, oh, I've queued into 2 aggro decks, so I'll switch, but that's not really sample size. It takes a bit more. The point is, this is a deck that will do much better in the hands of a skilled player. There's also a lot of like micro decisions that you have to make, and it can be very hard to recognize them, and sometimes discovering the wrong card, or picking the wrong card rather, from Discover, can lose you a game. Control Priest might be annoying to play against, but it is very skillful. Players like Xanananan, Zyrios, Gabby, Monsanto have shown us this time and time again, and I strongly recommend picking it up if you like control decks and this is your archetype. I might never talk to you again if you do that, but that's besides the point. You know, it is what it is. I do what I gotta do. And that wraps up my top 5 decks for May. Don't know why I paused so much. It's also, I guess, the top 5 decks before the mini set. Honestly, a lot of decks are good right now. There's this issue in Hearthstone. Maybe it's not an issue for some people. I think it is. But there's just not a lot of cards in the game, and it leaves the power level of cards kind of like... You would think it'd be like wildly all over the place, but it's... Well, the card power level's all over the place. Decks are pretty consistent, because they're all kind of consistently weak. Except for decks have like 1 or 2 like super insane cards. This leads to games feeling kind of lame in my opinion, because if you draw your really good card, your win rate's much higher. A good example is Incanter's Flow. You draw Incanter's Flow on 2, your win rate is substantially higher than it would be otherwise. And I don't really like that. Some people might. I don't know. It's not my kind of thing. But I'm playing the game anyways, and so are you. These decks can get you to a good rank to prepare yourself for the new set. When the new set comes out, I know you guys want that 11-star bonus. And if you haven't hit Legend before, you want that 10-star bonus. That shit's juicy. So I recommend picking up some of these decks, jamming some games, and seeing how they perform for you. If it does well, let me know in the comments below. If it doesn't do well, don't tell me that, I'll be sad, but just upvote the video and subscribe to my channel. It helps me out a ton. I love each and every one of you. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you next time. Peace out, Cub Scouts. This is Luker. and I love each and every one of you. Bye!